One. We'll start with Aaron Rodgers, Mike.
Yeah.
Finally, that's it. My reaction, finally. Finally, we have a decision made, and finally, this nonsense is over that he's able to make a decision, get on a plane, and go enjoy yourself in Pittsburgh.
He didn't want to do OTAs. He didn't want to do minicamp. And I thought
he's going to be there for mandatory minicamp, so he'll be there for those 3 days.
At the same time, the voluntary stuff, it's not surprising. Like, we all knew that this was going to happen. When the mandatory stuff came around, you knew that Rodgers was going to be there. And how that roster is set up, too, they get Pickens.
Metcalf.
You think that, they trade Pickens, they get Metcalf. You think that Mason Rudolph was going to be throwing him the ball? No. This was the writing on the wall. And I think it made the division even stronger. You got Baltimore, you got Cincinnati, and you got Pittsburgh. Those 3 teams arguably can win 10 games next year. So I think the odds makers, with our good friends at Hard Rock Bet, they set it at 8.5. And Kyle, you mentioned in the pre-show meeting, that's exactly where it is, right? That's the perfect over-under for this team.
Was that the 3rd or 4th year running? The Steelers have been 8.5.
Forgive me for thinking that Rodgers and Mike Tomlin are going to win 10 games. Mike Tomlin won 10 games with worse before. So I think this is great for Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh's a playoff team. And I think a lot of people are a little frustrated in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin and the way things have gone. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. You win 10 games and you lose in the first round. God forbid, I think Aaron Rodgers could possibly win a playoff game. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Rodgers played well for the Jets. And to his credit, maybe to his detriment in New York, he kind of ruined things there with getting his buddies there, maybe not being the best teammate possible. I'm purely speculating, by the way, because I know the locker room liked them. But it's interesting because remember what Cam Hayward said all those months back about possibly, going on podcasts and Pittsburgh players saying some stuff. So I think a powwow probably has to happen in the locker room too. But I'm not surprised to see this come down today with the mandatory stuff starting to come around with Rodgers.
I'm surprised you're so high.
Yeah, it's a 10-win football team. I mean, how isn't it? It's a great defense. As long as Watt and company stays healthy, the Porter kid's a pretty good defensive back. It's a strong team. And now you have a proven commodity in DK Metcalf for him to throw the ball to. How can you get excited, right? The offensive line, they bolstered it up. It's a 10-win playoff team. I think there are 3 playoff teams in the AFC North in the Ravens, Bengals, and the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if he's that much of a needle mover as you were giving him credit for.
Did he not play well in New York, though, Kyle? That's my pushback.
He had moments in New York. There's no doubt about that. That of all the football he could have played, he was pretty solid. Was it elevate an already good team into great good? I don't know, because it was a bad team that he was on. But if I look at this from the perspective of what is Pittsburgh trying to do, they're trying to win a playoff game. They haven't won one in about 8 years. They're trying to win, get back into at least advancing in the postseason. They've been there. They just can't win a game. If that is the goal, if the goal is, all right, we need to elevate to winning a playoff game this year, I imagine that would be a successful season if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not just getting there and losing, but winning a playoff game. I'm not sure if Rodgers does that. I'm not sure if he does.
So Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. Those are the teams I'm willing to put ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see about the Bengals and the defense. Outside of that, I don't know. I think the Steelers could be a top 4 team in the AFC with Aaron Rodgers. Barring injury,
I'm not putting them above Denver. I'm not putting them
Really? You put Denver over them.
And I'm not putting them above the Chargers either. No, I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, no.
That's surprising.
I'm not.
You're not a Herbert guy either. That's the reason I'm...
And I agree with that, but I think that the Chargers have more to step forward with comparatively to what the Steelers do. The Steelers have retooled a little bit.
I'll listen to that.
They got rid of Pickens. They got a new quarterback now. They got rid of Najee Harris went over to the Chargers. So they have they got Darius Slay in there. They're still going to have a good defense. But this is a different team. And I believe Arthur Smith is still that offensive coordinator, and he stinks. So if the idea that this is going to be, a lot of the same, this is a revamped offense, which is probably what they needed, yes. But was Russell Wilson that much worse than what Aaron Rodgers is going to provide? I don't know if I'd say that. I really don't. Because Wilson had his moments. He was bad in some games, but he also, that Washington game, he had games where he was very, very, very serviceable. So I don't know if I'm willing to buy in on that, because I think if you're the Chargers, second year under Harbaugh, I think that team is probably a little bit poised for a better step forward. Texans, jury's out on them. They won a playoff game last year. They're always going to be in the mix. I would lean on the side of Houston over Pittsburgh as well. I think Pittsburgh is middling on a wild card team once again because they're not going to win that division. We both know that. So they're vying for a actual wild card spot. All right. So they're probably not going to get a home game. And if they're going to be on the road the week one of the playoffs, can they win a playoff road game to start out the postseason? I'd with Aaron Rodgers, I'd probably wager on the side of no. Is he dangerous? Are they a little bit more dangerous? Is there that obvious elephant in the room that Rodgers can maybe harness some of that greatness that got him to 4 MVPs? Is there some of that there? Maybe. But this guy is going to be a 42-year-old essentially, and we're going to be relying on him to win a playoff game in a cold environment in late January.
I think that Rodgers elevates him to a playoff team. If I had to dumb it down, what does the signing of Aaron Rodgers do for the Steelers? I think it elevates him to a playoff team.
They were a playoff team.
I didn't think they were without him going into this year. If they would have went in, and listen, I love Will Howard. They would have went in with Will Howard as the starting quarterback and Mason Rudolph as the backup. That's not a playoff team. But with Aaron Rodgers, I think he elevates him to at least a wild card spot. And
wild card spot. I mean, like they're going to make a playoff game.
And Colin, I'm willing. Forgive me for thinking Bo Nix might have a sophomore slump. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But like I thought the Denver Broncos overachieved last year. So I probably put them ahead of Denver. I think I'm splitting hairs with the Chargers, but regardless here, I think they're a top 4, top 5 team within the AFC. Maybe Houston's better than them.
I don't see this.
My guy CJ Stroud needs to have a better year. But
that's a team that won a playoff game last year.
It is.
Keep that in mind. And then they got rid of their offensive coordinator. And
how much of it was them winning and Herbert playing them out of it? But I understand the point.
The idea is what the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 9 years with Tomlin. So they haven't done anything. And now Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old, is going to walk in here and all of a sudden they're going to be, spraying it all everywhere and 12 wins? Probably not.
But I'm doing this. Like Baltimore, Buffalo, fine. Let's throw Houston in there. Kansas City, that's 4. There's still a 5th there, and you're vying to go for the Denver Broncos and Los Angeles over them, and that's fine. I probably would put Pittsburgh in that 5th spot. Just because of how bad the Chargers looked in the playoffs and how bad Herbert played. And then Denver too, Kyle. Like, listen, maybe I'm completely missing the mark on Bo Nix, but I expect a sophomore digression there to an extent in Denver.
I mean, he had a great year last year. He had a great year.
And I'm not trying to take anything from that.
Just because he had a great year doesn't mean that he's destined for regression.
We've seen quarterbacks have issues in that second year. That's all I'm saying.
Fine.
I'm not saying he's lousy, Kyle.
That defense got better, and that defense is going to be near the top of the AFC once again. I don't know if I'm willing to say that. I do not. I don't know if I'm with you there. The Colts are not going to be that good, but we're also forgetting about the Bengals. Let's not forget that Joe Burrow had 43 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year. I know all the questions reside in that defense, but that was a team that scored 45 points pretty regularly last year, and they got every short end of the stick because of the defense. Now, did they do a lot to improve that defense? They don't have the money to do so, but I got to assume that they might be at least a little retooled. Can that team be a 10-11 win team after they went 9-8 with the amount of defensive bad luck that they had? You're damn right they can, absolutely, because of the talent that they have offensively. So I don't even know if I'd put them above Cincinnati because Cincinnati is more dangerous in a big game comparatively to Pittsburgh.
Let's wait and see on Cincy because Burrow almost threw for 5,000 yards last year, and we saw what happened. Kyle, he threw for 4,900 yards, and they didn't even make the playoffs. What was the stat? Threw for like 450 twice, and they lost on all that. That's why I'm a little wary on Cincy. But at the same time, I understand the point that there are good teams within the AFC. My fight back is that Mike Tomlin is in the playoffs every single year. How about a Hall of Fame?
But he's a terrible postseason coach in the past 10 years.
How about a Hall of Fame quarterback to get you over the hump? And I know we said the same thing with the Jets.
Russell Wilson last year.
I think Russell Wilson is flirting with the Hall of Fame. Would you agree with me?
He's probably going to be a Hall of Fame.
Rodgers, a first ballot. Russell Wilson flirting, but neither here nor there. I understand it. I just think with how well Pittsburgh's defense is and how good of a coach Tomlin is, this could be exactly what they need. I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid today with Rodgers in Pittsburgh. I think this is arguably one of the best divisions in football now with the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Steelers. And I think all 3 teams are going to be a threat in the playoffs, most likely. And I'm willing to say Pittsburgh damn near a top 5 team in the AFC if Aaron Rodgers gives them 3,800 yards and about 30 passing touchdowns.
I mean, I'm looking at this schedule too. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
The division's always going to be tough, right?
No, but they start with the Jets, Seattle, and New England to open up the first 3 games of the year, 2 of which on the road. Then they got Minnesota, an early bye week, then Cleveland. Those first 5 games are not that bad. Having Cleveland, Minnesota, New England, Seattle, and the Jets because that's new quarterback. Drake